Hey, what's up? Wes here. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Today I'm going to go ahead and bring you guys another top 10 list. So I'm going to go ahead and do my top 10 Sega Genesis stage background music. Now, the Sega Genesis has some of my all-time favorite video game music on any console. So I'm going to go ahead and give you my 10 favorites. Now, these are my top 10 favorite songs, not the top 10 best songs, because I know damn well that some of the songs up higher on the list are not as good as some of the ones that are lower on the list, but I just like them better for whatever reason, and I'll explain that. So I do have some rules and criteria set here, and rule number 1 is only one stage per game. Otherwise, you'd probably see some games on here with multiple stages. We're just going to do one stage per game. Rule number 2, no music from intros, title screens, endings, cutscenes, etc. All of this music are from playable stages from games. And rule number 3, each song will play through its initial loop. Alright, so simple enough. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what my top 10 favorite Sega Genesis stage background music songs are.
So what makes a good shooter great? Excellent music for one thing, and that's just one reason Gyruss is head over heels above so many other shoot-'em-ups that dominate the Genesis. The opening track of Stage 1 is a hell of a way to start a game and just gets you pumped up for what's to come. Tons of enemies and bullets flying at you from all angles. This game is so insanely difficult, chances are you'll be hearing this tune a lot. As soon as your quest begins in this highly underrated RPG, the music envelops you in a shroud of darkness, as the only man you've ever called father has passed away. The town of Wycliffe has always been home to you, and the information that your father has confided to you from his deathbed sets you off on a quest for revenge. The entire soundtrack of Sword of Vermilion is outstanding, and is one of the factors in which makes this RPG one of the best on the Genesis. Troubleshooter was released in 1991 by Vic Tokai and is an over-the-top sci-fi fantasy-based shooter in which you control two teenage girls in fending off hordes of evil. This game is totally Japanese and is heavily influenced by manga and anime, and back in '91, it's no wonder this game flopped here in America. The soundtrack is a reflection of the zany influences which make this game so great, with amazing percussion and moody, tripped-out songs that sound like they would be from the Akira soundtrack. The music from Stage 2 is so out there, you have to remind yourself to concentrate on the game. Far out, man! Streets of Rage was composed by a then 23-year-old Yuzo Koshiro, who would later be known for doing other works such as ActRaiser, Super Adventure Island, and the Shenmue series. The music was way ahead of its time, with the use of house synths and trance elements, and Stage 1 perfectly epitomizes what is to come later on in the game with this dance-heavy track. Yuzo Koshiro composed some of the best music in the 16-bit era, and don't be surprised to see his name pop up here again. Castlevania is synonymous with great music, and Bloodlines is no different. The only Castlevania game to be released for the Genesis, Bloodlines provides us with some memorable original tunes, and the music from Stage 2 fits the mood of the level perfectly. With its serene melody reflecting the scenery, just like the background reflects off of the water, this song is very catchy, and I still find myself humming it from time to time. The music has been reused in subsequent Castlevania releases, such as Circle of the Moon, and it's now considered a classic amongst the many other memorable tunes from the Castlevania library. This is the game that made me fall in love with the Genesis. When I first heard the eerie intro to a revamped Ghosts and Goblins theme, it sent shivers down my spine, and this tune is one of the most memorable video game songs from my childhood. Capcom already had a reputation for making games with exceptional music, so it wasn't too shocking that this game was loaded with fantastic tunes. And the rest of the game also has excellent music, which perfectly mirrors the mood of the game. Definitely a musical classic. Oh man, does this game have awesome music. Batman was composed by Naoki Kodaka, the same composer of the excellent Batman soundtrack for the NES, as well as other Sunsoft greats such as Gremlins 2 and Blaster Master. Kodaka outdid himself on this Batman game, composing even better music than the NES version if you can believe that. While Batman for the Genesis isn't necessarily a great game, the music alone is enough to make you want to play it. And the tunes for Axis Chemicals is the perfect soundtrack to have the Dark Knight pound some faces to. I told you he'd be back. This is Yuzo Koshiro at his best. And like Streets of Rage, the soundtrack to Revenge of Shinobi was also leaps and bounds ahead of its time. The then 21-year-old genius composed some of the best music ever heard on a 16-bit machine, and like all great soundtracks, picking just one song was sheer torture. While I could easily pick any one of them as champion, I'm gonna have to go with the awesome song from stages 2 and 5. The music is fast-paced and intense, perfectly mimicking the flow of the stages in which Joe Musashi finds himself dodging ninja stars and kunoichis disguised as nuns, leaving you salivating for more. And the rest of the game certainly doesn't disappoint either. This is arguably Yuzo Koshiro's finest moment, gracing 16-bit gamers with near flawless musical perfection. Oh boy, was this a tough one. The entire soundtrack to Thunder Force 3 is a masterpiece, so this indeed was a very difficult decision. It came down to either the Gorgon stage or the Siren stage, and I had to go with Siren. Both are brilliant, so why go with Siren? Well, the BGM still, to this day, gets stuck in my head at random times, and honestly, I don't think any other video game track gets stuck in my head as often as this one does. Period. Fantastic music for a fantastic shooter. quite possibly the best soundtrack to a 16-bit game ever. No joke, the background music in Musha is intense and fits perfectly with the absolute mayhem that fills the screen as you fly your mech through a futuristic setting, blasting anything that moves out of the sky. Another difficult decision, as all of the levels from this game have outstanding tracks. I went with Stage 2 because just like Thunder Force 3, it gets stuck in my head the most out of all of the ingenious songs in this masterpiece of a shooter. This soundtrack is the very first one that I put on my iPod, and I'm not ashamed to say that I've listened to it countless times. This is how a soundtrack to a shooter should be done.
Boom! There you go. Those are my top 10 favorite staged BGM for the Sega Genesis. Now, obviously the Genesis has a ton of games, which means it has a ton of stages, which means it has a ton of music. Obviously, I left a lot of good stuff out. So, let me know, what did I leave out? What would have made your top 10 list? There's probably some games that I had never even played that has fantastic music that I don't even know about. Let me know in the comments below because I definitely want to check it out. I'm a big fan of video game music and I love discovering new stuff. So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see some more of my videos, more top 10s, some comparison videos, reviews, go ahead and click on the subscribe button. And if you like the video, go ahead and click that like button. I really would appreciate it. And I just want to say once again, thanks a lot for watching this video. I'll catch you guys next time.